नित्यानन्देश्वरसमारम्भाम् नित्यानन्देश्वरिमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. I welcome all of you with my love and respects. I welcome all the devotees, disciples, Samajis, Satsangis, Srimahans, Mahans, Kotaris, Tanidar, everyone sitting with us all over the world through Nityananda TV, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, two-way video conferencing, having Nayana Diksha. I welcome all of you with my love and respects. I'll answer some more questions on the sacred, secret science of third eye awakening. Yesterday all the inner awakening volunteers had Jnananjana initiation and the manifestation of the power session. Today they will again continue to have more sessions and more process. Let me answer your questions on third eye.
Rani Iyer asks, Nityanandam Swamiji, in the exercise to classify the entanglements with existential reality and matrix, where do I place my children? Is our connection with children considered existential if they are young, under 18? After completing the exercise, I see that I am mostly in the existential realm, but have this one strong sense of loyalty towards the child.
Rani, let us be very straight. It is not. It is not. Even though you would love to have that marked under existential reality, unfortunately it is not. Surely when you give birth, you have certain responsibilities towards it, because the human child is the most vulnerable. No other baby, no other animal's baby needs so much attention. If a calf gives birth, if a cow gives birth to a calf, the calf may need maximum a week attention. Any other animals, species, if you see, the babies don't need so much attention, but unfortunately the human beings till the age of 7, physical, physiological, psychological, till the age of 14, physical and physiological, so I should put it in this way, till the age of 14, psychological and physiological, not physical, until the age of 21, at least psychological. You may not need a physical and physiological, but psychological. Attention and support is needed for the human babies. So, it's a commitment you take within the matrix. As long as you are inside the matrix, you are expected to be integrated to the commitment you took inside the matrix. Once you are out of the matrix, the whole commitment itself is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Even if you are inside the matrix after 21, if you continue to do, you are called possessive. Even if you are inside the matrix, don't continue, which is not required. I have seen many kids getting suffocated by the love of their parents. Suffocated by the love of their parents. Don't do that. And same way, as long as you are inside the matrix, this commitment is your integrity relevant, you have to do, but it is under the matrix. It is not methodology for liberation. It will no way liberate you. It's a commitment you took within the matrix. You have to play it to maintain your integrity because you gave birth. Rani, sorry, but what I said is truth. Next.
Sri Nityam Mangalatmananda from Bengaluru Adinam asks, is listening to the celestial sound Om related to the higher dimensions, or is it also possible we have a third ear whose activation can give us this kind of experience?
Actually, there is something called Anahata Dvani, sound which is not created, sound which is not generated. So, Om comes under that category. There is no such thing as third ear, but you listen through your consciousness without using both your ears. Next.
Sureka Radhakrishnan asks, is Maya the root cause of wrong decisions in life even when you are secured by the Guru? If so, does Maya have power over an enlightened Guru?
Sureka, first thing, Maya is not the root cause of wrong decisions. It is forgetting the decisions you already took. Understand this one example. You are dancing, jumping. You move the right leg, you move the left leg. You throw the right leg, you throw the left leg. Suddenly you come to a posture where you push the right leg and raise the left leg. In that same position, standing, you try to raise the right leg also, which is not possible. You are not able to move the right because you already raised the left. The decision you took already raising the left. So now the whole weight is on the right. You are not able to raise the right because of the decisions which you already took. If you call that as a wrong decision, I will not agree. I will only call this as a forgetting the earlier decisions you made. Nothing is wrong, nothing is right in the life. There is no such thing as you should not raise the right hand, you should not raise the right leg, you should not raise the left leg. No. You are not able to move the right leg and you call that as, oh, I am in bondage. Just 2 minutes before I raised the same leg, now I am not able to raise. I am trying. And you sit and try even to pull your leg, and the whole beauty of the dance is lost. Understand, forgetting the earlier decisions you took and calling them as wrong because you feel certain suffocation, certain amount of a choicelessness where you can't make choice. It is not because of your past wrong decisions. The choicelessness is because of the choices you took. If you know because of the choices you took you are in choicelessness, you can just put the left leg and raise the right leg, that's all. Or you can relax both the legs and just jump, raise both the legs, that's all. Understand, all Maya is nothing but forgetting the past decisions you took, not wrong decisions. Listen, because you forget the past decisions, you go on blaming your bondage and you try to find some solution. Because you are not able to find solution, you call past decision as a wrong decisions. Please understand, forgetting the context of the past decisions is Maya. And you have a next question, Surekha Radhakrishnan. Is Maya the root cause of wrong decisions in life? Even when you are secured by the Guru, first thing be very clear. Guru always secures you. Do you procure Guru? Do you procure him? No. How much of procurement of Guru has happened inside you? Find out. He goes on securing you. Goes on, goes on, goes on. Even he can only secure you, not make you live. Even he can only protect you, safeguard you, but living has to be done by you. More than Guru securing you, you procuring him is important. How much you procured Guru inside you? Surekha Radhakrishnan, the question you are asking is Maya the root cause of wrong decisions? Forgetting all your past decisions is the root cause of wrong decisions in life. Even when you are secured by Guru, Guru can secure you, but you have to procure him. If you don't procure him, he just securing you can keep you alive, nothing more than that. Can keep you without being dead. He can clinically keep you alive. Clinically you can be alive, but only if you procure him, you can be living. Living. So the third question, does Maya have power over an enlightened Guru? Relax. If he is enlightened, Maya cannot have power over him. The next question, by same Surekha Radhakrishnan, next question.
Surekha Radhakrishnan asks, in the Drishti Srishti or Srishti Drishti, which triggers which? Cognitive shift triggers emotion, or the emotion triggers the cognitive shift? Or are desires the root cause of emotion and cognitive shift? Who controls Maya in the cosmic law?
Too many questions, one by one. Surekha, the bunch of confusion you are carrying is layer by layer, need to be clarified. First, in the Drishti Srishti or Drishti Srishti, which triggers which? Clearly listen. In Drishti Srishti, Drishti triggers Srishti. In Srishti Drishti, Srishti triggers Drishti. and both are truth in different levels, different places. Some of the Vedantis try to declare both of them are wrong, or one is completely right and one is completely wrong. Both of them are neither right, both of them are neither wrong. In one place one is right, in the other place something else is right. And next question, cognitive shift triggers emotion or emotion triggers the cognitive shift? Listen. When the cognitive shift triggers emotion, it is called delusion. When the emotion triggers the cognitive shift, it is called spiritual practice, sadhana. I'll explain, give an example. Because you have a cognition of the low inner image, you trigger the same low inner image, same low emotions. Like my bucket has been stolen. Oh, she took away my husband, I will take revenge by taking her husband. Cheap, slum level emotions. When will those cheap slum level emotions will be triggered in you? When you have this cheap inner image about you. Understand? When I use the word slum, I don't mean the living place. I mean the way the mind is. There are many people who live in slum, are the great devotees who just connect with Sadashiva, live with God. I myself have seen some people in Gujarat, in villages. In Gujarat villages, people who don't have anything other than one small hut and a cow, living with Krishna. Literally. Not only living, just how our Balasans, Gurukul Balasans are able to show you whatever you want in the mirror. I have seen one old lady, just by touch, she showed me Krishna, living, alive. I actually wanted to go back to that village and collect details about her and record it in my autobiography. A old lady who showed Krishna to an incarnation by a touch. So slum is not the place, it is a space. Listen. So if your low cognition is generating, triggering emotion, it's delusion. And by you creating higher emotions, sacred sentiments, the clarity about cosmos, Ishvara, Jagat, Jiva, and changing your cognition, that is spiritual practice. Whenever you study about the 25 states of consciousness or 11 dimensions, suddenly certain emotions are triggered in you, which puts you in high cognition, at least for next few days. Putting yourself in the higher cognition every day is the purpose of morning spiritual routine. Yoga or kirtan or puja or satsang, panchakriya, all this. Yoga, panchakriya, puja, kirtan, satsang. All these five is to put you in that higher cognition, making that higher cognition as a living reality, as a life, as an understanding. When higher emotions trigger the cognitive shift, it's called spiritual practice. When the lower cognitions trigger the emotions, it's called delusion. I tell you, if your cognition shifts, you will never trigger these lower emotions. I've really seen People going and biting the dog back because it has bitten them. Biting the dog back is not going to heal you. You are going to get into deeper diseases, more problems. Biting the snake back is going to get you out of the poison. Biting the scorpion back is going to get you out of the problem. Fighting the wife back is going to get you out of the problem. Don't do these three. Don't do these three. In front of Guru, in front of wife, never fight. In the fight in front of wife, you will lose this world. Fight in front of Guru, you will lose that world. But never have the delusion you are going to win in any one of this fight. Listen. There are many things. If you look at the past, taking revenge will be realized as a waste of time. That is what I call higher cognition. Cognition about life and future. Listen carefully. If still taking revenge seems very logical and right, you are in slum, psychological slum. If taking revenge does not seem logical, living the future seems to be more logical, taking revenge looks irrelevant and redundant, you have raised your consciousness towards life. You are ready for the Upanishad mantra. Tyena tyaktena bunjitam akrita kasya siddhanam kurvanne vega jijivishet sadagno samaha evam dvainanyadetosti nakarma lipyate. Renounce and celebrate, live hundreds of years, always say yes for life. The Isavasya Upanishad statement. Anybody who understands this verse, taking revenge will be irrelevant for them. Understand, whenever you say yes for life, Kala Bhairava takes revenge on your behalf. Because when you say yes for life, you become Sadashiva. Now the Kala Chakra, the time shaft, the Kala Chakra, the time shaft has to take revenge on the people who are trying to harm you, tried to harm you. Understand, in your cognition, whenever taking revenge becomes irrelevant, redundant, and your cognition does not trigger the emotions of taking revenge and violence, because you are looking about the future, you are not bothered about the past, it is already redundant, irrelevant, you are Sadashiva. I am not saying people who try to harm you will go unpunished. No. They will actually be crushed by Kala Bhairava, which even you cannot do, even if you take revenge. The best revenge is making the mentality of the revenge redundant for you, irrelevant for you. If you can look at the future and why waste time on this buffaloes and donkeys and all that? Life is great and so much is available, so much you have to do. Whenever you say yes for the future, go on with the future, you are ready for the great Upanishad declaration of Tena tyaktena bunjita makrita kasya sviddanam kurvannevega jijivishet karmani. Renounce and celebrate, live life, say yes to it, live hundreds of years happily by saying yes to life. Sadagnu samaha, live hundreds of years celebrating life. I tell you, the cognition which does not trigger the emotions of revenge and taking revenge is the cognition where Sadashiva is living. Life is not unjust. It's a huge power of dharma, just. Let you make revenge taking consciousness redundant to you, irrelevant to you, by being in the understanding of Sadashivoham, Sadashiva. Kalabhairava is too powerful, too available. Too much powerful, too much available. Let conscious invoking of the higher emotions change cognitive shift in you, not the cognitive shift triggering lower emotions in you. Next part of the question: whatever is present now is past as every minute. Oh, there is one more part. Who controls the Maya in the cosmic law? Sureka Radhakrishnan, this question does not fall under the sacred secret science. It falls under sacred secret sweet science. It's a classified document. It's a classified information. Only when you become an insider it can be available to you. Who controls the Maya in the cosmic law? I can give you a rough answer. You try to understand. You. Sureka Radhakrishnan. You control the Maya in the cosmic law. Understand. At least try to understand. Whatever is present now is past as every minute the time moves. What's the scale to calculate the past to present or present to future? Understand. A scaleless way moving is the quality of time. You are trying to make physics out of time. No. You can't make physics out of time. You can only make chemistry with time. Have a right chemistry with time. You cannot make physics out of time. If you make physics out of time, you will be dead. If you have a right chemistry with time, you will become biology, alive. Right chemistry with time will make you biology, living, alive. Trying to make physics out of time will make you dead. There are two museums. Dead museum, where the antiques are kept. Living museum, where the traditions are lived. I am the living museum of Vedic tradition. I am the living museum of Vedic tradition. Actually, very soon, people can walk in to our campus, literally see and taste all the 460 powers Sadashiva explains in Agama. Taste what is called living museum. They will walk into the welcome center and say that I wanted to stay for 2 days. The Swami in charge in the welcome center will just draw the key from the air and hand it over. Please go to your room. When my Gurukul kids, Balasans, take over the campus and start running, this is the way this campus will be running. You will see. This is the way the conversations will be. The person will come, I wanted to stay here for a week. The Balasant will just draw the key from the thin air and give it to him. Please go, this is your room key. Do I need to swipe the credit card? No, it's already done, you go. Then he will get the credit card and say, no, I wanted to stay for 7 days, but it is only 3 days swiped. No, third day evening, you are going to get an urgent call. You may need to go and attend that. So only 3 days you will be able to stay, and you will have to come back after that to continue your stay. When you come back, we will talk. Please go on. I am the living museum of Vedic tradition. Sangha will be the living museum of Vedic tradition. Do not make physics out of time. Do not try to make physics out of time. Have right chemistry with the time. You will become living biology. So, don't even have this question, what is the scale to calculate the past to present or present to future? There is no scale. In that dimension, scales don't work. Scales don't matter. And matter cannot be measured with the scale of length, breadth, depth in the dimension of time. It is altogether different dimension. So with this, I bless you all. Let you all radiate with integrity, authenticity, responsibility, enriching, causing, living Shuddhadvaita Saivam, the eternal bliss, Nityananda. Thank you. Be blissful.